You are live.
We are live on Saturday, 11 a.m. Eastern, because it's Wager Talk Last Call. Monday through Friday, Wager Talk today at noon, and then Saturday we give you Last Call at 11 a.m. Eastern. And we're getting closer to the football season. We will be talking some NFL futures a little bit later with Teddy Covers, but we got a lot of baseball, some MMA action, and other sports to get to. Let's start it off with Gianni the Greek. By the way, I am Steve Merril, filling in for Ariel Epstein. If you didn't guess by now, I'm not Ariel. She'll be back next week on Saturday. But Gianni the Greek joins us every week on Wager Talk today and also Saturday here on Last Call to give us the Steam report. And Greek, what are you looking at here on Saturday morning?
All right, I already fired some Summer League NBA. If you go over to WagerTalk.com and check on my free page, free picks, you will have a 3% premium play that I sent out to subscribers. That's up and available for free. That's in the NBA. Summer League's been really good for us. And I'll give you another one. The lines moved a little bit, so it's on the individual, how much risk they want to take on. But we bet the Indiana Pacers as well. We bet them at -5, 4.5, and 4. So that's why you're looking at a lot of threes, even a few 3.5 still out there as well. But we also took Indiana at +5 and +4. And then I have a 3% that I sent to subscribers. That's also up for free for you guys. A couple of baseball plays for you real quickly. Yesterday, before the series started, I was at the UFC taping at Apex, so I didn't even see this come in. I have my cousin back in Philly. He handles that stuff when I'm working, doing, tied up with obligations. Anyway, make a long story short, he said a couple minutes, Ace, before first pitch, they unloaded through like 5-6 different accounts. Cincinnati for the series, Cincinnati for the series, Cincinnati for the series. And that was at -270, 280, 290. They were betting Cincinnati for the series. Well, lo and behold, Cincinnati loses game 1 to Colorado. So if they're going to hit that series bet, they're going to have to win today. They're going to have cash with Cincinnati today and cash with Cincinnati tomorrow, or that's a heavy, chalky play that'll go down. And usually those late plays do really well. It's mostly based on late information or, waiting till the limits get a lot higher to unload. And finally, a couple of baseball plays for you guys. Again, it's really early. It's only 8 o'clock out here on the East Coast. The Canadians don't bet till about 10 a.m. They wait till more of the off-screen outs offer higher limits before they share their stuff. But here's a couple of the overnight and some of the early stuff this morning. 9:53 Dodgers -140. 970 Athletics +130, 971 Cubbies +145, 976 Baltimore -160, and then 957 Washington Milwaukee over 8.5 up to -130. So a couple sides of total for you, some NBA action, series bet to keep your eye on, and of course there's UFC today. We'll be covering the entire card in the Steam room in about an hour and a half as we cover some of the stuff live later today.
And Gianni, tell everybody about the Steam Room. I know that's a very popular feature they get when they're part of a subscriber for you.
Yeah, and today it's free for everyone.
Right.
So come on in, and especially for you MMA fans. I did the show yesterday. The show we taped yesterday at the UFC was for UFC 318, the big pay-per-view card next week. And it was me, Michael Chiesa sat in as a co-host, and then Dan Haley, who's from the NFL Network, he hosted it. Anyway, I got to talk to Chiesa for a while, covered a lot of the 318 fights. Getting a fighter's perspective was absolutely priceless. That's why I love going early to makeup, because there's always fighters around there. And because I'm the betting guy, they always want to talk gambling. They just love it. So I get to talk ask them a lot about the fights, and even saw Chris Weidman. Shout out to Weidman, Ray Longo. Love you guys out in New York. He was in Vegas. So I got to see him, and we were talking about some of the fights coming up for tomorrow and next week. So we'll talk about that in the Steam Room. We'll go over Major League Baseball live, Summer League NBA, and more baseball should be coming in. You'll get those for free. It'll be at 9:30, 12:30 p.m. Eastern. We'll go over year-to-date results. We'll go over short-term results, last 30 days or so. We'll go over money management, how I've been able to overcome that short-term variance that all bettors are going to face, and there to answer all your questions. So 12:30 Eastern. The link will be up at Wager Talk. The link will be up on my YouTube, my Twitter as well. And I hope you guys do some damage today.
Once again, that's the Steam Room, free today at 12:30 Eastern,
Yes,
here in about an hour and a half. So make sure you take advantage of that. And by the way, if you like that feature after you use it for free, you can get it as part of his package and also get his blackjack course. Your $999 blackjack course is still included, Ace. When they get the 1 year subscription, there's an instant $811 discount on your page right now for that 1 year all access.
Yeah, and you're one of my favorite people at WagerTalk, man. I tell Gianni that all the time. I even watch your stuff. I love watching your stuff. So I'm
Appreciate
a fan.
that, man.
Thank you for mentioning the blackjack course. Because the truth is, I swear to you, Steve, I told Johnny, you need to send everyone that took that course, you need to send them an email and just ask them to please write what they thought. Because I got so many, dude, I say it, I get goosebumps. So many guys, I'd say 30% of that class has already reached out to me again, like DM'd me saying, dude, thank you, asking a question about blackjack, saying like they've made money using it.
Awesome.
Like it's awesome watching these guys. They're right where I was, right when I learned the system, got the blueprint in my hands. And now I got to go out there and put it to work. And they're going through those trials right now because, again, it's just like with sports betting. You may have winning information, but as we all know from WagerTalk, if you don't use it correctly, it's really not going to help you long term. It may help you in the short term if you're hot, you get a winner. But if you're going to make money long term and do it over and over and over again, you got to be able to have those disciplines that are needed. And they're going through that right now. A lot of guys, I saw some of the DMs that they send their questions like that, where they got to fight those demons off, where, they know they have the best of it because they know exactly what their edge is. They're like, dude, I had a big edge and I still lost. And that's gambling short term. There's a lot of randomness involved. So yeah, they're giving that out. If you just sign up for the year with football coming, it's a great deal and you'll have a skill set for life, man. Honestly, the blackjack course is the thing I'm most proud of. I love the results long-term at WagerTalk. But the blackjack course is something anyone could learn and go off and do whatever they want with it. And I hope somebody eventually does like crazy damage and I hear about it and they started it from that course. That would be amazing.
They're going to link it back to you and you're going to be in trouble. The casinos are going to come knocking at your front door wanting their refunds. Blackjack's still beatable. A lot of people think it's not because of the countermeasures. Let me ask you this, Ace, and if you don't want to say why on live TV, don't say it, but if I owned a casino, I wouldn't have a single dealer shuffling up anymore. I'd have automatic shuffle machines. Why don't they all do that by now? There's less downtime. You probably can't count if they do that, correct? I mean, what's the reasoning not doing that?
Yeah, the automatic shuffle machines we're okay with. It's the continuous shuffle machines we can't beat. The ones that you see that are out there now on the casino floor, especially on the floor, they can't put them in the high limit yet because those guys that play high limit, they've been playing blackjack enough to know when rules like that get altered, it's in their detriment. They may not be able to tell you the exact percentages. They may not be able to tell you exactly how it's hurting them, but they know it's hurting them. So they won't go there. And there's other competition that will deal them a fair game. And with high rollers, you don't want to risk that. That's why in the high limit pits, you never see those continuous shuffles. You'll see automatic shuffle because that saves times. Like you said, takes them a while to shuffle. And the machine's going to even do it better, where you won't be able to get clumps. There's some teams out there that they follow clumps. I could explain that.
They look tracking. I did that back in the day.
You're into gambling. You get it. And they track cards. The automatic stops that from happening. But it's the continuous shuffle that eliminates the card counters because, there's nothing to count. They're just, after they clear up, they're just keep stuffing the cards back in the random. It's like just shuffling up continuously. So you don't know what deck you're in, how many decks you're playing or anything like that. That's not beatable. An automatic shuffle, that's fine. But it's a continuous shuffle that I agree. If I had it, I'd do the exact same thing. I'd do the exact same thing, Steve. And just like with sports betting, why are they charging 109s, 115s, 117s? Instead of discounts? Because people are still betting it.
Right.
But there's still sharp guys like yourself that aren't going to bet into those lines, that are going to hunt down minus 110s, that won't lay those minus 112s, 13s, 15s, because they know it's detrimental to them. And that's why, fortunately, it remains beatable to this day because of competition. The market forces blackjack to stay beatable for the time being.
When the best sports betting in the country is still in Nevada, and they said back in the 1970s when Atlantic City was opening, everyone thought that was going to be the death of Las Vegas.
Great point.
And all it did was make it stronger because it was the minor league version of Las Vegas and people wanted the real deal. And we're seeing that with the sports betting. I didn't think of it until you just said the minus 115, the 30-cent lines, the 24-cent lines. Hey, since about a week ago, I saw you and Andy talk about it before I came on last Thursday. Now that we've had another week to kind of think about all these changes that are coming, maybe to professional gamblers, any update from your thoughts on that from
Yeah,
people you've been talking to?
it was the initial panic, like
Right.
anything, and we see it, the overreaction. It's kind of like when we see bad weather in football and the total starts getting bet under, and then the bettors keep betting it, even though they already adjusted 3 or 4 points because they're seeing snow. And, it's
Right.
just an overreaction. And I think that's what happened. I think it's an overreaction by the bettors, but it is really going to be a detriment to those that do use on-screen books, that do report those wins and losses. Like if you're scalping, you have to have some books that are on screen so you could get paid. You may be betting against Pinnacle's line or against Chris's line or someone's line, but you need the other side to scalp. So someone has to be on the other side. And if that other side's an on-screen book, that's going to get reported. That's where that problem comes in. The guys that are forced to bet on screen, they're going to run into some tax problems. Guys like myself that do 90+% off screen, it's the same game. It's the same game. It's on us to report what we do. It's on them to uncover it when it's not documented. So it's the same cat and mouse game, man. Of course, they're trying to take money any possible ways they can by taxing us, but there's always ways around it. And if you're at that high level of betting and you have the kind of bankroll where you're in betting syndicates and these guys that are talking about all this stuff, and you don't have a good accountant, it just don't add up to me. How are you making 6 figures a year betting sports and you don't have a decent accountant that could save you money at the tax window? So hire a good accountant. That's why you make a lot of money, so they could do their job. Hire a good lawyer and let them handle that. That'll play out itself. Again, I'm sure there's accountants out there for high-level gamblers that are already letting them know how to get through this. There's always loopholes in tax code. You just got to find the right guy who understands it. And don't overreact. I overreacted myself. I panicked myself. But our jobs are safe and secure. There's always ways around being overtaxed, just like with every other thing in life that we deal with.
Yeah, it's interesting because, I mean, obviously I thought it was strange news and it was big news at the time, but I agree with you. It always seems like it seems worse in the first 48 hours, and then people start realizing, well, they cut one thing here, but they give you an ad back here. And
exactly.
Speaking of cat and mouse, I mean, sports betting as a professional is a cat and mouse game.
It is.
Tax law,
it is.
Tax law.
I think it's fair, Steve. I'm sorry. Like, I just think it's fair. I maybe because I'm just old school and this is what I've been used to. Like, you're trying to get over on them, they're trying to get over on you.
No, 100%
so
is. Yeah.
It's fair. It's fair.
I was going to say, but I think tax law is a cat and mouse game too. I've totally agree.
Sure.
It is, but you're right. It's always changing. And the winners still win long term, and they find ways to win. And it's the same thing with the tax code. But yeah, it's interesting to see how things have maybe cooled down a little bit in the last couple of weeks.
Just to put it in perspective, I bumped into a guy out here, not going to say his name, high profile guy who, as far as gambling Twitter goes, and he's like running up to me like in a panic, like, dude, what are we going to do? And this and that, and like panicking, like, man, if we make a living anymore, like all this stuff. I'm thinking to myself, bro, you don't make your living betting. Like, you're going to be fine. I'm thinking to myself. And then I had to meet the guy that's my main contact for like one of the bigger betting syndicates. And I'm like, what do you think of this new law? And he's like, who cares? Doesn't change anything for us. Like, these guys are betting millions of dollars a day and they could care less. And this guy's barely betting $25 parlays and he's getting hysterical. Probably did a video after he bumped into me to let people know about how detrimental or how it isn't, but that's what's happening. It's just something else to talk about. But those guys like that really make their living betting sports, we're finding ways around it. We always have. And if you made money last year, you got taxed. You're just going to get taxed again this year. Sit down with your accountant, figure it out. You'll be just fine. That's how I figure.
And history really does repeat itself. It doesn't always repeat itself, but it rhymes. 19 years ago, 2006, the Kyle bill is when Pinnacle went off for everybody. And that was an 11th hour add-on, just like this was in a port security bill back in 2006. A port security bill, they added an internet betting clause on like the 211th page in the 11th hour. So
wow,
we've seen this before. History repeats itself. And obviously Pinnacle's still around, but it's been a different game. But as you said, the pros still found a way to play with all of those books and make a living. But yeah, Google the Kyle bill, the Kyle amendment, 2006. I will. The difference on this one, Johnny, though, which kind of irritates me, is that no one, at least last week when I checked, I could not find who was behind this add-on. which is a little irritating. At least man
Who
up
put
and
it
say,
on
hey,
there?
I'm the one that wants to cut the losses down to 90%. And it's kind of nameless, which I thought was very shady. Who the senators or congressmen they were, well, it was the
Behind
Senate.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, the
That's
Senate's the one
interesting.
that added this last week. And unlike 19 years ago, Senator Kyle was an adamant anti-gambling guy from Arizona. So, hey, at least he was consistent, right? But yeah, this one was kind of a shadowy overnight add-on that nobody took credit for, which bothers me a little bit. But
And you're talking about the United States government. How, like, they're not all that, our IRS isn't all that efficient, dude. Like,
no, and I think Dave Mason summed it up right when Andy asked him after your segment. He's, these politicians don't know what they're doing.
at all.
They're
At
told, oh,
all.
this will add an extra $1 billion to revenue, but they don't realize the side effects of everything. It's going to, crush some game. It's just going to push everything illegal and underground again.
That's it. That's
Bottom
all.
line.
That's
That's what happened
and
in
most of us
2006.
are forced to do it that way anyway.
Right.
Through local books.
It's just like taxing 50 cents on every wager in Illinois. It's just going to make people play offshore and with
Elsewhere.
the local bookie. So it's not changing anything. And it's less revenue and less income for the states and for them to tax.
Exactly.
Gianni the Greek, you got about an hour till the steam room, so I'll let you get
sir.
ready. Once again, on his page right now at WagerTalk.com, instant $811 discount on his 1-year all access. That gets it down to $3 a day. It includes the steam room. It includes the $1,000 blackjack course he just talked about for a limited time because that's already expired, but he's going to add it back in. Johnny, anything else you want to say on the way out? You'll be back Monday on Wager Talk.
Thank you, guys. Best of luck to you, Steve. Best of luck to the rest of the Wager Talk crew and all the guys that are up now watching this. I know it's a little slow with summer. Football's just around the corner, but you can continue taking advantage. Again, there's always that betting market there, so it doesn't have to be football season or even like NBL, that stuff going on to make some money. The betting lines are up, so find those inefficiencies. Hope you guys do some damage. And again, thanks for having me.
Great to see him. Hit back at noon Eastern Monday, every day on Wager Talk today, Monday through Friday at noon Eastern. And once again, his steam room is free today at 12:30 Eastern. Check that out here at WagerTalk.com. Gianni the Greek. All right, started at Las Vegas. We are going around the world today, to say the least. We're going to have Tokyo Brandon next. Then we're going to have Jesse Schule from Thailand, and then come back to Las Vegas for Teddy Covers. So we are stamping the passports. So let's talk some baseball, though, because it's a big baseball Saturday. Tokyo Brandon, former MLB scout, Major League Baseball expert, Japanese baseball expert. It's in his name. Tokyo, a little Korean baseball at times as well. How has the baseball season been going for you? Have you noticed anything different this year from years past, or is it kind of the same old, same old?
Yeah, people call this the dog days of summer, but it's not for me. I went 3-0 in baseball yesterday. I'm up plus 105 units in 2025. So I'm back to number one. So feeling good. And MLB is mostly the reason for that. Korean baseball is on a hiatus right now. They're in the All-Star break. Japanese baseball is going well. I went 1-0 in Japanese baseball, 3-0 in MLB. So yeah, it was a good day, and things are going quite well. As a matter of fact, after this show at noon Eastern, I'm going to be doing my own show. I'm going to basically open up my spreadsheets and show people how I cap games for about an hour. So that'll be fun.
Well, about an hour is an understatement, Brandon, because I last week did some baseball videos, and I was logging in to check out your show on the replay, and you were still going live. And I heard you say you were up almost at 3 a.m. Eastern. It was almost a 2-hour show because I think basically the chat was saying they wanted more. You went over, I think, every game on the board last Saturday. So it's been well received. And once again, that's live here at noon Eastern. So you can check that out in about 40 minutes.
Yep. Yeah. And I it's kind of a habit of mine. I like to swig Fireball while I'm doing my capping, but I was told not to. So sorry, guys, no Fireball today.
Told not to. Is this like the 1980s where you can't have liquor ads on TV anymore? Remember,
like
you couldn't back when we were growing up. You couldn't have a liquor ad. You could have cigarette ads, but not liquor ads. Now it's the opposite.
Exactly.
You have liquor ads. You can't have cigarette ads anymore. So I smoke a Marlboro. See if that's all right instead of the Fireball.
How old are you, by the way, Steve? I'm 54. How old are you?
51, actually. Yeah, we've both been around a while. So I've
Same,
started in 1996. I've been a professional handicapper. It'll be 29 years this August. More than half of my life. It's pretty insane when you think about it.
I was doing scouting, but I'm using basically the same systems and spreadsheets that I used when I was a scout to do my capping. So it's a smooth transition. I haven't been doing it quite as long as you, and you are the video master at WagerTalk. Everyone envies how you make videos. I wish I could do them like you, but I'm working on it. I'll get
It's funny, I never did a single video TV show until, well, I did a couple maybe before, but when I switched over to WagerTalk in 2020 after the shutdown, went from doing radio for 20 years to video. And it is a change, but you get used to it. And yeah, it's been a good move to say the least. So a couple, by the way, live chat, ask away. He's going to do this in his show as well in 40 minutes. So you don't have to worry about rushing in and getting them all in now. But one team I want to talk to you about is the Seattle-Detroit game. I mean, Seattle exploded last night for 12 runs. Cal Raleigh, his 8th multiple home run game this season. He's already tied the Mariner record. Griffey did it in 97. He took a whole season to do it. I believe he tied Jackson from 1969 for the fastest before the All-Star break with 8 multiple games. I think he's had 3 grand slams already this year. This is a guy hardly anybody could even have named a year ago. I'd never even heard of him until a couple years ago. What's going on with this? I mean, how did he get so good so fast the last couple of years? Any thoughts?
Yeah.
I don't want to say McGuire social. I'm not saying that, but I'm curious.
Yeah, might want to test that guy. Pretty good catcher, though.
Very good catcher from what I hear as well, right? He's one of the better catchers in the league as well, defensively.
Pretty good catcher. I mean, the Dodgers have a good catcher. Seattle has a good catcher. There's very few catchers who can actually contribute to the lineup. He's definitely one of them, and it's a very, very, very good quantity. He's been decent, but he's never been like this. So yeah, it's surprising for everyone. But regarding the game today, Detroit, that's another team that actually I was not real high on when the season started. But man, I call them the best mediocre team I've ever seen. But all the Tiger fans are going to get in an uproar about that. But no, they're coached really well. They have the best pitcher in Major League Baseball. And then they have some backup guys who can do well, such as the one who's going today in Casey Mize. So I do my rankings. I rank my starting pitchers on a curve of 30 out of 200 guys. And Kirby, I have him ranked 10, and Mize, I have him ranked 8. So we got 2 really good starters going today. And Detroit's bullpen has been a problem recently. They're kind of slipping right now. So I give Seattle a slight advantage today. And I know everyone's going to say you're a Detroit Tiger hater. I'm not. It doesn't mean I'm going to bet Seattle, but it means I'm probably not going to bet Detroit. One thing that I found from this game quite interesting was George Kirby's outs recorded was 18.5. So if you don't know what that means, 18 is 6 innings. So you divide the outs by 3 to get the innings. So 18 is 6 innings. So the book is saying Kirby's going to get an out in the 7th inning. And I'm projecting him at 16.9. I don't see him getting an out in the 7th inning. So if I'm going to bet something, I'll look a little deeper into Kirby's 18.5 under outs recorded here. They also have his strikeouts at 5.5, and I'm at 4.5, and I'm projecting him at 5.5. So maybe over on the strikeouts, under on the outs, but I'll need to research it a little more.
Well, it's a good little hedge too, right? Because if he has a monster game and you don't win the 7-inning bet, then he's going to almost certainly get the strikeout bet. He could definitely win both of them, but it's hard to probably lose both of them. So that's a 1-1, 2-0 bet right there. I like that.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, you tell me anybody's going into the 7th inning, I'm taking under nowadays. I mean, for the most part, I mean, that's very rare.
For the most part, unless it's Wheeler or one of those Iron Men. There's a couple.
That's funny you say that
because
Mac Hudson has a question in the chats. Mac asked earlier today, a couple of minutes ago, Tokyo Brandon, any Wheeler props look good today from Mac Hudson? So we'll talk about Wheeler.
Yeah, actually, I answered him in the chat while Gianni was talking, but Wheeler is 18.5. Now, he's one of the few exceptions of the guys that I'll want to go over 18.5, meaning he records an out in the 7th inning. And there's a good reason for that. He generally goes quite deep. I'm projecting him at 21 outs here, and I don't project anyone at that. He's going against a decent lineup, but they're actually faltering quite badly right now, the Padres. They have a lot of talent, but they're not showing it. And if you look at Wheeler's last few starts, he went 9 inning, 8 inning. He had a 6 and a 5 and a 6 and a 6. So 6 is 18, right? So he would lose that prop if we bet it. But I think today he's going to handle San Diego. And if you look at his career stats against them, they're pretty good. So I think he'll go over 18 and get 1 out in the 7th inning today.
So Matt Hudson also has got another question, which kind of hits home for me. It's about the Reds, because I had the Reds last night, -1.5 run line. I love fading the Rockies, bad teams with the run line. It didn't work out, but they lost outright, so the run line was actually a decent play there, even though I lost it because I didn't lose a huge juice. But Max asking about the Reds money line rollover today. He said he's got it. And just bigger picture, I would ask you, do you ever find a reason to back a team like the Rockies or the White Sox? You're having a great baseball season. You always have great baseball seasons. Do bad teams like that make your card, or do you just avoid them or look to fade them?
Sometimes I will. I mean, the White Sox are not. I like a team like the White Sox because they're not as bad as everyone thinks.
A lot of one-run losses this year. A lot of close losses. Yeah.
Exactly. And the Washington Nationals are another one like that.
Yeah.
So the books do not like the Washington Nationals, but you can bet their team total and make some good money because they got some smashers in there. They got Wood, they got Abrams. They can do some damage. And the White Sox are another team that can put runs up, and the book generally will slight them. But the Rockies, they are historically bad. So there's absolutely no way I would bet the Rockies with my money. I might do it with your money, Steve, because you got a lot of it. But I'm not betting the Rockies with my money. But yeah, there are some historically, or how shall I say, they have a bad team stigma attached to them, but they're actually performing better than the book thinks. Washington is one. The White Sox is another, and the Angels is another. The Angels are actually smashing it really good right now. So those are three teams you can take advantage of because the books really don't like them.
Yeah, it's funny. When I said Rockies, I almost didn't say White Sox with them because I agree with you. I think the White Sox were terrible last year, and I almost feel like they're starting to trend back up from that bottom. They may be a bottom now. When I last checked about a week ago, they were 5-20 in games decided by one run. And yes, bad teams are going to lose more one-run games or mediocre, but they have a mediocre bullpen. They don't have a horrendously bad bullpen this year, so there is some random variance there. And I was big on my Washington Nationals this year coming in. They had that 1-6 start. Could have been better at the start. They were competitive. They just kind of seem to find ways to lose games this year. So I do think that's another team that's going to start trending up because, boy, was that Soto deal a good one for them. There's talks, Brandon, saw it this morning about could the Pirates possibly trade Skeens, which I don't think will happen. But I was thinking if you could get 4 or 5 future major leaguers like the Nationals did, I don't know. I mean, are the Pirates close enough to getting good enough to benefit from having Skeens the next couple of years?
The thing about the Pirates is they don't care about winning. They just care about having a team. So there are teams in Major League Baseball that absolutely don't care if they win or not. They just care about playing the games and having a baseball team. And the Pirates are one of those teams. Unfortunately, sorry for Pirates fans, but they're never going to sniff a World Series because they don't care. So
well, they don't spend. I mean, I kind of get where you're going with that because my first thought was they can't afford to probably keep Skeens, 3 years from now, whenever his contract's up. I don't know what the deal is. I don't see any realm of possibility they're going to keep him, right? So why not load up now, right? And try to maybe catch lightning in a bottle with 5 prospects, but then you're going to lose those guys too. So yeah,
I would absolutely revolt. Can you believe the guy with that talent is 4 wins and 8 losses and gets basically 1 or no runs of run support every start?
2-1 last night. He's lost. He's 0-3 his last 3 starts. He's pitching awful, right? 0-3. The most meaningless stat in all of sports is 1-loss record, as you know. And he has a 1.77 ERA, I think, during that span. Yeah, wins, losses might be the most meaningless stat ever in the history of baseball.
Could be, but he gets to go home to Livy Dunn, so that's not so bad.
And he gets to live in Pittsburgh. Whew. At least he's there during the summer months. I would hope he heads out during the winter. I've been to Pittsburgh numerous times. I got a lot of Pittsburgh friends, so I say that tongue in cheek. This might be an alias in the chat. Swaggy McNolegs. Swaggy McNolegs.
I've seen him. I've seen him.
Hey,
let me give you a little gambler's tip though. If we're going to talk about huge underdogs and terrible teams, one way that you can bet the Reds today is you don't want to bet -310 obviously, but you can take their pitcher to win the game. So to win a game, the pitcher has to go 5 innings. The team has to be winning when he leaves the game, and the bullpen has to hold the lead. So you have to meet these 3 criteria, but you'll get really good odds for it. I haven't checked Singer's to win the game prop today, but I imagine it's like -110 or something like that. So that's one way you can bet huge favorites if you're in love with them and you really want to fade the Rockies. The Rockies are 16 and what are they, 11-36 on the road or something? I mean, they're not going to win. Singer's not a great pitcher, but he can go 5 innings, and the Reds can put up some runs on some guy named Blaylock. So, that would be one way that you can approach a heavy favorite.
Well, that's what fascinates me about the Rockies is they've got the best offensive park in the history of Major League Baseball, and they still have terrible numbers. But yeah, you got to take their home numbers. And when you look at their road numbers, they're atrocious. I mean, earlier this year they were like averaging less than 2 runs a game, batting in the 190s in all road games. I mean, that's just historically bad. There's lots of ways you can cut that down. I love the run line because bad teams usually lose by margin. The same reason I've used the Dodgers for years on the run line. You don't lay the $2 or $3. You lay the -1.5, get it down to -150, -140, even -110. Most good teams like the Yankees and Dodgers, when they win by margin. And yes, you're going to have occasional one-run games, but you're cutting the juice in half every time, and it adds up in the long run.
And if the big favorite team is at home, you're going to get extra good price for that because they're only going to bat 8 innings if they're winning the game. So,
and that's something Tokyo too. You know, everyone's always like, never play home teams -1.5. Well, it's factored in. The juice is like half as much than if they're on the road. So there again, if you want to win for just that day, if you got to like double your bankroll tonight only, or you're going to be evicted, then you probably don't do it. But if you're taking a long-term investment approach, like, you know, Brandon does and like I do, then you want that value day after day. On the way out here, though, let me add, Swaggy McNolegs says Cubs lineup today sucks. Cubs are an interesting team because you talked about the Tigers. The other best run differential in all of baseball this year, Chicago. They're almost double what the Dodgers and Phillies are right now in the National League as far as run differential, positive, plus runs. Are they for real, first of all? And what are your thoughts on the game today?
They absolutely are for real. And we have 2 really good pitchers on the mound today. And Boyd is a guy who I wasn't really enamored with when he was with Detroit back when. But this season, he's having a great season. As a matter of fact, on that previously aforementioned curve of 30, I have him ranked 6, where I have Max Fried ranked 8. So these are 2 really top-notch pitchers, 2 struggling bullpens. But we have 2 really strong lineups. So this seems like a gridlock to me. When I looked at the individual props, Max Fried, over 17.5 outs. Will he finish 6 innings? I think he could. I haven't bet that yet. And then let's see, we got Matthew Boyd's over 15.5. So will he get 1 out in the 6th inning? Yeah, I think he can. So those are 2 things to consider. I haven't pulled the trigger yet.
By the way, there's a lot of support to bring the fireball back, so you can see if it happens here in about 30 minutes, because I'm looking at the live chat now. David Havley's calling it a party foul, and he says that he wants.
I would love to, but
he wants to speak to the manager. He said so. David, we'll try.
Well, the manager is in the chat. So
he might be in the live chat. The manager has been known to come in the live chat. And they want a poll. They want to know if they can at least vote on this, Brandon. So maybe you can figure out how to add a poll to StreamYard here when you do it at noon Eastern.
That's above my pay grade. But
I'll be honest. I think the manager's doing you a favor. You don't need no fireball in your belly at 2 a.m. Tokyo time trying to get to bed.
I do it anyway, so I might as well do it on screen.
You need to just disappear for a second, and then all of a sudden pop. Every time you pop back on the screen,
I'm going to have to lean over like this and do it instead of showing people. But that's okay. That's fine with me. But yeah, catch me in about a half an hour after this show, guys.
I want to ask you one final question real quick. I want to save the other games for your live show. But something they also pointed out in the chat was that the Cubs have struggled against left-handers this year. Do you factor in righty versus lefty? The whole left-handed starter stat is kind of useless because that's maybe 4 or 5 innings of a game. But you can dig deeper and see how a team has done against all left-handed pitchers or right-handed pitchers. Of course, you got to make sure that lineup is still in there today. Guys aren't sitting. But do you even bother handicapping that, or is there just too much random variance in your opinion?
Nope. What difference does it make how they hit against other left-handers? I care how they hit against this left-hander.
That's a great point. Yeah, that's a great point. So not all lefties are created equal, right?
Why would you look at how they hit against other guys? I mean, who cares? It doesn't matter.
That's great. I mean, you do fantastic in baseball. You're a former MLB scout, and I know a lot of people use that in their handicapping. I'll talk about it in videos. I don't really mix it in with my numbers either. It's one of those things that kind of makes for good talking points. But that's interesting. So you do not use the right-handed, left-handed stuff at all in your mix?
Yeah, I don't. I don't care how they pitch or how they hit against Casey Mize if they're facing Max Fried today. Why would I care?
Now, one thing I do look at, and I talk about a lot in my write-ups, is the history of the current lineup, like not just the Cubs, but the guys that are batting today against today's starter. Is that something you do mix in?
Say that again.
The current guys in the lineup against the actual starter that day. That is something
Exactly.
you would look at. Yeah, because that's what I use as well.
But I don't overvalue it, because when you look up those stats, they could have been from like 3 years ago. We don't know. So, but yeah, I do factor that in, obviously. Yeah, I think you and I have a similar approach, which is why
we both do well in baseball. So that's why I love talking to you about it. And hey, if you want to analyze every game on the board, he did it last week. He has some fireball. He might not have as much fireball to stay up till 3 a.m. Tokyo time, but he's going to try to go at least an hour.
I've been banned, so
it'll be a more efficient show.
I told them if you start banning my clothes, then I'm going to revolt.
Yeah, I mean, if we have a regular backdrop like this behind you, then we're going to think something's seriously wrong. So once again, check them out here in about 22 minutes, live on WagerTalk TV, the Tokyo Brandon Show, starring Tokyo Brandon. All the baseball.
You got it.
We'll see you in a little bit. All right, hey, that was Japan. Let's go to Thailand. Let's keep the Asian thing going as we get back to Vegas here to finish with Teddy Covers in a moment. By the way, the most Asian man in Las Vegas, Theodore Cervansky, Teddy Covers, is on in a moment. But first, let's talk to Jesse Schule, who's coming from parts unknown as well. And Jesse, we talked a lot of baseball. We're going to talk some NFL with Teddy. Let's talk a little college football with you. Shoot, let's start with Colorado. I know you want to talk about the bottom feeders in the Sun Belt. We'll get to that. But I can't even name them offhand right now. Let's talk with Colorado, man. You're egging me on with that sweatshirt. We got to talk about the Buffaloes. They've been one of the most intriguing teams in college football the last couple of years. Obviously, they lost the big talent this year to the NFL. What are you doing with them going forward this season?
Well, first off, I don't know if you know the story of how I got this jersey.
No, I was curious about that.
Yeah, I'm not a Colorado fan. In fact, I have a bit of a love-hate relationship with Colorado fans. I don't hate their team. They seem to think I do. I bet against them last year when they were on the road at Central Florida, and the Buffs fans were telling me, oh, the Buffs are going to win by double digits. And I told them, I said, listen, if the Buffs win by double digits, I'll get a jersey and I'll wear it on the show. Well, it's a pretty nice jersey, so I don't feel like I lost too bad there. But I don't hate the Buffs, but I think sometimes Buff fans get a little bit – they view their team with rose-colored glasses, as do most college football fan bases. That said, the Buffs did have a great season last year. They certainly did a lot better than I thought they would. But, yeah, they got to replace, a Heisman Trophy winner who played on both sides of the ball. So, I mean, it's like you're losing two guys. And then Shedeur Sanders, a lot of people criticize him. He fell in the draft, but – you look at what he did behind an offensive line that was terrible, and it was pretty impressive. And thinking that Caden Salter from Liberty is going to come in and be able to do that, I just don't see it. I think the Buffs are in big trouble in week 1 against Georgia Tech, and whether or not they remain competitive in the Big 12 it remains to be seen. I'm not going to make a judgment on that. There probably will be good spots to bet on the Buffaloes, so I don't want to get too much flack from Colorado fans, but I ain't touching them in week 1. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, I mean, they lost a lot of talent, even with just a couple guys. That was a huge blow, more so than probably any team. And I just don't know if Sanders has built that program up enough yet where they can just reload, like powerhouse teams do in the offseason. Another team I'm really curious about, Florida State. By far the biggest disappointment maybe in modern college football history last year. You talked about Georgia Tech here a moment ago. I didn't start off well.
I did call that, Steve. I didn't have my best college football season, but I did call that one. I was on every show throughout the summer saying I was taking the under in Florida State, mostly because of DJU. Bringing in DJU to replace Jordan Travis was that was never going to work, in my opinion. Well, and we saw the results. But let me ask you, Steve. What do you think of Norvell as a coach? Would you say his tenure at Florida State, despite last year, has been relatively successful?
I don't know. It's just Florida State's been an enigma to me now for like a decade. I have a ton of friends that went to Florida State. I was actually a charter member in 2004 of the Seminole Club here in Williamsburg, Virginia, because there's so many Florida State alum. And we went to the UVA game that year. I actually remember going to that game. They've fallen so far. I went to the national title game with some buddies in 2000 against Oklahoma. Perhaps the worst national title game in history. It was 14-2. They vastly underachieved in that game. So I've seen Florida State do this over the decades. It's just so much talent in the state of Florida.
That might surprise you.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's the thing. They're so bipolar And even then, Jesse, I mean, do you even really take much? We have no preseason to look at. They're hiding guys. Most of these teams aren't even doing spring games anymore because they don't want their guys seen. I've talked to coaches. There's actually scouts and coaches watching the spring game to try to see guys they can poach with the transfer portal on the NILs. It's so bizarre now. I mean, my strategy in September, I think I went 10-3 last year in September in college football, is I play blowouts. I played the big boys against the mid-major schools. I stayed away from the Georgia Tech Florida State game last year. I just don't have a read for them right now. But my concern is, am I going to even get a read from the first couple games? Will we even know after that what to do with a team like that? Their offense was, I talk about this in all the other sports, including baseball, like the Rockies, how bad they are all offensively when you take out the home numbers. You can't bet bad offensive teams in any sport. And if you look at the bottom feeders, they're all terrible offensively, whether it's basketball, baseball, football, and Florida State's offense was really bad last year. Do you feel like there's any chance they've improved that fast?
Well, let me give you these numbers. Norvell with Jordan Travis at Florida State, 24-6.
Wow.
Pretty good numbers.
Yeah.
His record in games without Jordan Travis, 4-18.
That's incredible.
Jordan Travis ain't coming around that corner. And Thomas Castellanos. And the other thing that we didn't speak about is the call out. I'm sure you saw it, media reports. Thomas Castellanos said about Alabama. He called out Alabama. He said, Nick Saban ain't there to save them. I can't see them stopping me. Look at me last year. I tore up the ACC by my own damn self. And I mean, one of the problems with Florida State is Norvell brought in a bunch of transfers last year, questionable character guys, and his team started off poorly and the guys quit on him. So he goes out and gets a guy in Thomas Castellanos who left Boston College in not so great circumstances. You could say he quit on his team. And before he's even played a game, he's calling out Alabama. That's a pretty selfish thing to do. I'm sure that Mike Norvell was not happy, and I'm sure his teammates were not happy with that. And then to say that he tore up the ACC by his own damn self. So he's throwing his former teammates under the bus. They've already hit back on Twitter and said they don't see it that way. And when he says Nick Saban's not going to be there to save him, is he familiar with Kalen DeBoer? All he's done is won championships at Washington and in the Mountain West with Fresno State. His quarterbacks, Michael Penix Jr. and Jake Haener, have lit it up on offense. And he wins 9 games in his first season and beats Kirby Smart and Georgia last year. I think people are sleeping on Alabama, and I think Alabama is going to rip Florida State a new one in week 1. And I will tell you this. I think come the game against Florida at the end of the year, Norvell's gone, and so is Castellanos. So how's that, Florida State fans?
I love it because I wanted to ask you about Alabama. That was the next team that I'm always curious about, and you answered my question right there. Yeah, I was going to say, you talk about coaching differences. That's why I wanted to go there. DeBoer is a guy that's won at every level, and even when he hasn't necessarily had the best talent, he gets guys and they play for him, whereas the Florida State guys, like you said, quit. That's the problem with these low-character type players. When things start to go bad, they go bad south fast. That's why you can't try to catch those falling knives. Florida State,
especially when you're talking about mercenaries that are signing for paychecks and moving around for money and not going to the school that their parents went to and this kind of the old school college football, and which is why a guy like Nick Saban leaves, and then you're left with guys like Kiffin and DeBoer and a different breed of head coach in college football these days. But as far as Alabama goes, I think they're being slept on. It's not just DeBoer. Now you get Ryan Grubb back at offensive coordinator. They're probably the best head coach, offensive coordinator duo in college football, in my opinion. They bring in, or they don't bring in, they're planning on starting Ty Simpson, who's a guy that nobody's really seen play in Division I football, but he's been with the program a few years, riding the pine. 5-star recruit, the top quarterback recruit in the country in 2022. And if Kalen DeBoer and Ryan Grubb decide to go into the season with this guy, there's got to be, you read the tea leaves, there's got to be a reason for it. Alabama is not a poverty program. If they wanted, right. if they felt they needed a quarterback, they would have gone out and got one. If they want to roll with Ty Simpson, I would expect him to be pretty damn good this season. So yeah, I'm high on Alabama coming into the season.
Well, and that goes back to what I said earlier. That's a team that reloads. They can still reload. They don't have to rebuild every year. Florida State obviously does not reload. Otherwise, they would have been better last year. They would have pulled in other guys to play. So And we don't have a preseason once again in college football, so you got to figure a team that's in-house like that has a nice edge in week one against a team that's bringing in transfers and new players. They've had a few scrimmages maybe, but they haven't played a preseason game. They haven't played a real game. That's going to be an interesting one in week one. And by the way, Jesse is doing a ton of college football preview videos for game matchups, season previews. And if you like what you heard, you can get his CFL, which we didn't touch on, free for the rest of the season, right? If you get the early bird right now for college and pro football. Jesse, tell us about it at Wager Talk.
Yeah, I've had some pretty good success with CFL. I think I'm hitting around 65, 66% with CFL since 2020 when I joined the company. I don't play a lot of CFL games, maybe one or two a week, but hit for a high percentage. And we'll give you the CFL for free if you sign up for NFL and college football. For those of you who can't remember last year's playoffs, I dominated the NFL playoffs last year, won big in the Super Bowl. So looking to pick up where I left off last season on the gridiron.
It's Jesse Schule, once again, the CFL for free when you get his early bird college and pro football season package right now at WagerTalk.com. And Jesse does a great job all year long with free play videos. So make sure you subscribe here to Wager Talk TV on YouTube and you click that bell for an instant alert. We're only a few hundred away from 210,000 subscribers here on Wager Talk TV. So make sure you're one of them and you click subscribe. All right. Talk some college football, went around the world. We're going to finish in Las Vegas where we started with Teddy Covers. Teddy's been waiting in the wings. Thank you for being patient, Theodore. I said if I told people we had Theodore Cervansky, nobody would have stayed. But Teddy Covers will stay.
I still thank Rob Vino to this day. Every time I see him, I'm like, thank you, Rob. Rob was the one who called me Teddy Covers for the first time. And the first time he called it to me, the next day, other people were using it. And by a week later, I'm like, yeah, I guess I'm Teddy Covers now.
I love it.
So it's all Rob Vino. I came out here as Ted Cervansky, and it just didn't have that same ring to it.
Yeah,
I don't hide my name.
We've been doing it long enough, Rob. I was on websites with you 20-some years ago where you were Ted Cervansky on the website. So never Theodore Cervansky. That sounds like a Nobel laureate. It's a little too fancy.
No. See, the only one that ever called me Theodore was my mom, and that's only when she was mad at me.
That's when you were in trouble. That's exactly right. Yeah. I knew that without asking. All right, so we talked some college football. We'll let you run here in a few minutes. Let's finish it off with some NFL. You're doing a great job all year long. You've done the season win reports. I mean, this whole summer you've been doing a great job week after week breaking down some different teams. I love where you went, by the way, last week with not my Washington Commanders. That was one that jumped out to me months ago as an under or pass. They so vastly overachieved last year. If you missed that breakdown, watch last week's last call replay here with Ariel. He did the Commanders, talked a little about the Chiefs as well. Dolphins were brought up. But this week we're going to do the two New York teams, I believe, right? Giants and Jets.
Thinking of interesting teams to talk about, and I thought the two New York teams are worthy of some mention. They're the New York teams, and of course they both stink. You can find, again, the one thing that's very different this year compared to previous years, and we talk about a betting marketplace that's always dynamic and always changing. There's a lot more alternative lines this year when it comes to win totals than I've ever seen before, ever. And obviously, this is my 25th season where I put out an NFL win report, and the win reports have done pretty well over the years. 103-52 lifetime, 17-4 with the 5% big tickets. But you can find variance. So if you have opinions on these teams, you can bet plus prices. At virtually on virtually every squad. And you say the Giants, I'll call them lined 5.5, whereas the Jets are more lined at 6. But you can find both teams at 5.5. You can find the Jets at 6.5. You can find the Giants at 4.5. We're not talking about teams that are expected to be competing for playoff spots or Super Bowl appearances in 2025.
Yeah, I think the Giants are interesting because, talking about the Commanders, I actually did a Sports Rage late last night on Sports Grid, and Cam Stewart and I were talking about the Commanders again, and we said, the Eagles will be tough. Cowboys maybe have some upside. But Cam said Giants are terrible again. And, even at 5.5, it was hard to make a case for them. I was like, they can't be much worse. But so if you had to play one of the New York teams, though, maybe more upset with the Jets than the Giants. I mean, what are your thoughts?
For sure. I mean, look, the Giants went 3-14 last year. They went 6-11 in 23. They were a playoff team the year before because they stole a bunch of games that they didn't deserve.
Crazy.
The clients and I cashing over with the Giants that year. We got there with room to spare, and I'm still not convinced they were a right side. But the schedule was easy enough in 2022. They went 4-13 in 2021, 6-10 in 2020, 4-12 in 2019, 5-11 in 2018, 3-13 in 2017. The last time this team was actually good was 2016 with Eli Manning throwing to Victor Cruz and OBJ. You know, you have a head coach on the hot seat, an offensive coordinator on the hot seat, a GM on the hot seat. You know, so lots of scenarios in which the end of the season, everyone's fired, and they're playing out the string and hoping for another high draft choice. Obviously, at the quarterback position, Russell Wilson, yes. Jackson Dart, maybe. There's been a lot of intrigue about Jackson Dart, but you talk about a rookie QB and not a first-round rookie QB, late first-round rookie QB. What was he, the fifth or sixth quarterback taken? Those aren't guys who I tend to trust in their first year as starters. They had money to spend in free agency. Absolutely. They spent a lot of money in free agency, lots of signings. That being said, you look at the schedule, they play, 9 games against teams that had 11-plus wins last year. They play 11 games against teams expected to have a winning record this year. It's the single toughest schedule in the NFL for 2025 based on this year's win totals. Now compare that to the Jets, all right? And the Jets, obviously, they went 5-12 last year, 7-10 the year before, 7-10 the year before. They're not being aligned as so they haven't been as bottom feedery as the Giants in recent years. Last year, they had the number 2 defense in the NFL in yards per play allowed. Only Philadelphia was better. New head coach, new defense coordinator, new offense coordinator. So they had that burst of energy in the offseason. In terms of free agent signings, I thought the Jets did again, Justin Fields is a guy who's going to attract a lot of attention one way or the other, negative or positive. Oh, Justin Fields stinks. Oh, there's upside for Justin Fields. In my opinion, there's upside with Justin Fields. We are talking about a top-tier quarterback in college, quarterback who is highly thought of coming into the league, who hasn't really walked into a positive situation yet. And I don't know if the Jets is a positive situation. Obviously, they're lying, 5.5, 6-win team. But look, on paper, they should be decent. The defense should be decent. And you look at their schedule, middle of the pack, SOS. Home games down the stretch, Carolina, Cleveland, Atlanta, Miami, New England. I'll call them all winnable. They get Aaron Rodgers week 1. I'll call that a winnable game. So do the markets. So of the 2 New York teams, if I'm playing 1 over, 1 under, it'd be Jets over, Giants under.
Yeah, and Fields is an interesting guy because obviously he was horrendous initially at Chicago, but I did start to see some upside with him at times last year. And you kind of feel like maybe a change of scenery for a guy like that that's got a few years in the league now could be good. You just wonder that New York City media probably not the best change of scenery for him. He'd be better off going somewhere quiet, small. Not that there's really any small media markets, I guess, in the NFL anymore. But, this could be, I agree with you. I think there's some upside. And we pointed that out last time we were talking about the Giants. They did not get any benefit from the schedule this year, like you just said. It's fascinating that the hardest rated schedule based on season wins. That's also shows how difficult that season win total is going to be for them to get up and over, even at 5.5. Real quick, Teddy, on the way out there, you mentioned all the alternative lines out there, the different prices you can find. Explain to people once again what a half a game is worth from your numbers in the NFL when you're looking at taking a over 6.5 versus an under 7. When you have a choice between 2 half wins like that.
So the rule of thumb is 50 cents for a half win. All right, 50 cents worth of juice, but in actuality, you can price it differently based on where the win total is. Right. At 4.5, 5, 5.5, the low end of the market, or at the high end of the market, 10.5, 11, 11.5, those half wins are worth a little bit more. You say they're worth 60 cents, 65 cents, 70 cents, because it's harder to get over those top totals and it's harder to stay under those low totals. But for your middle of the pack teams, 6.5 minus 150 to the over is a moral equivalent of 7 at even money, or 8.5 under minus 120 is the moral equivalent of 8 under plus 130. So approximately 50 cents. Now, when you're talking about season-long bets, I tend to want those bets to win. So I'm willing to lay a little bit more juice in general to turn a potential push into a potential win. And look, I never complain about a push with the season win. I really don't. Once in a while you do. But in general, when my season win's going to push, I wasn't right. So I'm all right. We got out of it, no harm, no foul. We got our money back. But in general, you want these to win. So I'm going to lay a little extra juice to get the half as opposed to on the push number when I can, because it makes sense to do that given how tight these numbers actually are and how tight this marketplace is.
Makes a lot of sense. So once again, in general, about 50 cents, maybe 60 cents or more on the extreme numbers, high or low. So if you're shopping around, as you should, with multiple books, multiple numbers, that gives you a little bit of a barometer of which one to choose when you're making your season win bets. And once again, if you want Teddy's complete NFL season win report, it's his 25th year that he's done this, 25th season, because he started in 2001, 103-52 with 3 pushes. He's had 3 pushes, so they do occasionally happen. And most of these total sports books put out, of course, are half wins because they don't want the push either. They don't want to have to refund people after 6 months. They want a win or a loss as well. 66% Teddy's incredible, but that 17-4, 81% mark is remarkable. And I believe you had the Saints last year under, correct, as your 5% big ticket. And you've got another strong one going this year. I believe people can still get the report for free, as crazy as that sounds, right? Tell them how to do so.
Well, it's easy. Just sign up for my NFL season.
Boom.
And then you'll get every play every day from week 1 of the preseason through the end of the Super Bowl. Obviously, the NFL is a sport we take very seriously. The NFL is a sport we've had a lot of success with. And the prices are not ridiculous. They're value prices right now. Check out my page, www.buzz.com/TC. And again, the full season package includes the win report. You'll get it today. Get on board. And again, reasonably priced. We're not talking about thousands of dollars, which some people think it should be. But you can check it right now on my page, wt.buzz.com/TC.
It's Teddy Covers. Always great to see him. And once again, you can get this season wins report single as a single purchase if you want just that, or you can get it free with his NFL package. Both options are available right now at WagerTalk.com. And thank you, everybody, for watching. Ariel Epstein will be back next Saturday at 11 a.m. Eastern. And don't forget, Wager Talk today is live Monday through Friday, every weekday at noon Eastern here, hosted by Andy Lang. I'll probably be making an appearance once again this week as well, along with numerous other cappers from Wager Talk. In the meantime, if you'd like some free play videos for Saturday, I'm about to knock out 2 free MLB games for you here in a couple minutes. So check back here shortly on Wager Talk TV. Make sure you've clicked subscribe. We're so close to 210,000 subscribers. And consider clicking that bell as well. You'll get an instant alert when my free play baseball videos go up today and every day right here on the channel. If you're finding it useful, thumbs up, like, and comment below. We do truly read the comments. We reply back. And by the way, I've got a free play on my page right now for the Phillies and Padres. Don't tell Dan Alexander I'm picking the Phillies Padres. Well, it's a total, so it's safe to tell him. But once again, free play tonight along with a strong best bet on my page for Saturday baseball. Steve Merril, WagerTalk.com. And you can get there quicker, wt.buzz/SM. Thanks to our producer, Dan Alexander, in the studio. And stay tuned here to Wager Talk TV because there's some great free play videos coming up next.